Hello, fans of the Vampire Diaries. This is Mel again, and I'm back to talk about episode 621, titled I'll Wed You in the Golden, which aired May 7th, 2015. Now, so much happened on the day of Joe and Alaric's wedding, it seemed, which was the centered focus for this episode. And it ended on such a killer note, with Kai stabbing Joe in the stomach from behind just as she was giving her vows to Alaric. Did I not say that Kai would crash the wedding? While I suspected it, I didn't expect him to do it like he did. Hashtag harsh. Now, here's the thing. Did Kai attack Joe's stomach because he knew of the twins she was carrying, or did he just aim for the stomach as a reminiscent thing to 1994 when he stabbed her in the spleen? And if it was because of the twins, then how in the world did he find out? And did he know all along, since he did tell her that she was pregnant first? And since I'm talking about the wedding itself, I guess it was too much to ask to have the actual ceremony go off without a problem, since on the originals, Haley and Jackson got a trouble-free wedding with the only downer on that day being Cole's death. And while we saw Joe's father and sister, again, after their absence for the last 8 or so episodes, you know who we don't see? Jeremy. The guy didn't even make it to Alaric's wedding. I mean, come on. I'm very disappointed in that, Hunter. Before I ended off with the wedding part, though, after talking with some fellow fans, I should say, I didn't pick up on it sooner, though, but Kai was actually back in the real world since the very beginning of the episode. So when Bonnie had her, I'll get back to it later, but when Bonnie had her nightmare, he was actually in the real world, messing with her, making her think that he wasn't back when he was back. So, and then he was the one that caused Joe to collapse because he caused her to have an aneurysm in her brain, and then he was messing with people. So I didn't pick that up the first time, but after hearing other people point it out to me, it definitely makes sense that Kai was actually present the whole time. So let's move on to, since I said Jeremy was not seen at all in this episode, we do get Caroline back in town, and she takes a role as wedding planner since the one Joe hired called in sick. That's like the worst. So while organizing the last minute details for the wedding, Caroline makes her apologies to everyone she hurt during her humanity-less reign. We see her say sorry to Elena, and they hug it out. We see her say sorry to Tyler, but then they get into an argument about relationship issues, because he was dealing with Liv's return, and then he was calling Caroline out with her issues with Stefan. And then, anyways, we see Caroline hugging Bonnie, and we see Caroline have a heart-to-heart with Stefan. They first talk about Damon's dilemma before going into how they feel about one another, and from the looks of it, Stefan is ready to be in a relationship with Caroline, but she's not ready to lose control at this stage in her life, when falling in love is essentially losing control and making yourself vulnerable, which control-freak Caroline isn't happy about. So basically, she wants time to herself before she actually commits to anybody else. Makes sense, good for her, but it definitely doesn't look like Stefan and Caroline are going forward anytime soon, which kind of makes their brief hookup when they were both without their emotions kind of like a teaser. It's like, oh, you wanted this, so here it is, yet you don't really have it, so that sucks. But it seems like whatever their friendship / relationship is definitely on a complicated level. I don't know what to call it. Sorry, I do not know what to call it. It's late for me, I'm very sorry. But now let's move to Bonnie. She's suffering from nightmares, like I said earlier, about Lily and Kai. I initially thought prophetic dreams to warn Bonnie of what is to come as she takes her to come, but turns out, after talking to many other fans, that it was Kai's doing. But because Bonnie doesn't know this, she takes her concerns to Matt. Together they have a plan to kill Lily before the wedding, but before they could do that, they find Lily gone, and they are knocked out shortly after that. Now, I don't get how they were knocked out to begin with, but now knowing that Kai was back the whole time, it makes sense that he was cloaked while in the cell, and then that's how he caused Matt and Bonnie to choke from nothing, basically, and then fall unconscious. And then when Bonnie wakes up, she was bleeding. So if Kai was there, then he probably took her blood. But I don't get why he would need her blood if he's already back from the prison world. But if you guys have any more of a clarification of that part, do let me know in the comments. But definitely first time watching it, I did not click to me that Kai was already back since before it even started. Just saying. Okay, so let's get on to Damon and Elena. Let me just see. Okay, Damon and Elena. Sorry, I was just looking up something here for them. Okay, while Elena's on wedding duty, Stefan takes Damon on a little road trip to one of his houses that he owns in a suburban neighborhood. While there, Stefan puts Damon through every situation a human faces, but Damon isn't phased. He has a plan, and he's determined to follow through with it. And I just love that Damon actually showed Stefan that he researched and already knew the perfect location for him and Elena based on Elena's future image of their life together. Him owning a bar and they're living on top of it. Elena going to med school and continuing on that path. So it's great to see that Damon actually did the work and to try to make her dream a reality for them. Not liking that, Stefan takes it a step further by implanting images of a human Damon and Elena in 2 years, then in 7 years, and neither option shows happiness between the married couple. That's right, married, Elena had a ring. So anyways, in the 2-year one, Elena's worried about her residency, while Damon drinks away the bar's alcohol stash, and then that progresses to 7 years to where it's troubles between them connecting because one's too busy and one just wants to be with the other. It's like a train wreck, really, and it's sad. So then Damon kicks it up a notch again by showing Damon what a human life for him would be like if there was no Elena. It was a sad and isolated one for Damon, since Stefan would have to cut off all contact from Damon to keep Damon safe from those who would want the cure from Damon. For a while, we think Damon is going to stick to being a vampire, but he tells Elena at the wedding that he wants to be human with her, and the speech he gives her was truly beautiful. I can always count on Damon's speeches to move my heart to elevated heights. There's just no character that could beat Damon when it comes to his heartfelt speeches. There's just no one who can compare on this show. He tells Elena, and I quote, "I'm taking it. I've been a vampire for a long time, Elena, and it's been a blast, but I'd give it up in a second to be your husband, your partner, the father of your kids." And then he even tells her later on, "I could take it, the cure for us," when she asks him not to take it just for her. And then he even tells her, quote, "Smallest chance at a perfect life with you is infinitely better than an immortal life without you," which I thought was sweet. And then he tells her, "I love you and I will love you until I take my last breath on this earth." And the kiss after that, which leads to barn sex that gets them late to the wedding. Now my Delena heart is soaring because of this euphoria between them, because they want to spend the rest of their lives together. And Damon has mentioned again how he wants to marry Elena, which I think is a huge commitment from Damon. But that euphoria I feel with Delena, for Delena, and their happiness is kind of darkened because of the little voice at the back of my mind that's telling me that it won't last because of Nina Dobrev's departure from the show. And it seems like Kai could tip the domino that splits Delena apart. And I just hate thinking about it. It makes me think that maybe if I'd react differently if I didn't know that Nina was leaving the show when I first see this scene. So it just breaks my heart already, and we're not even on the finale yet. So with the mention of Kai being a possible cause of ripping Delena apart, is that the only relationship he is ripping apart? What about Joe and Alaric? Because it seems that Joe, who may or may not have died in Alaric's arms, and then Elena was knocked unconscious at the end. So here are two humans whose lives are in the balance. And we won't know for sure until next week. But is this how Nina Dobrev leaves the show? And if Elena does die, then the cure dies with her. What do you guys think? So before we get into predictions, I just wanted to point out a parallel that I noticed with the final shot of this episode, and that was of human Elena being unconscious after the window shattered around her because of Kai. Now, if I remember correctly, episode 321 ended in a very similar way, with human Elena passing out and bleeding due to her head injury, and then in the next episode, 322, Elena was healed only to have her die at the end and turn into a vampire. With that said, what if that pattern continues and Elena dies in the season finale? My Delena heart doesn't want to even think that, but the parallel suggests it, and with prior knowledge of Nina leaving the show, it's safe to assume such a thing. I also just wanted to mention something I had noticed over the weekend. I mentioned it at the end of my 221 review for the originals, and it has to do with Elena taking the cure. Over on the originals, we saw back in season 1 that Davina used magic to obliterate the compulsion that Klaus had put on Camille. So my question was, why was magic not used to erase Alaric's compulsion on Elena so that she can get her memories back of good Damon, if it is possible in that universe for it to be done, as seen with Davina and Camille? I just wonder if that was even considered in Elena's case. Like, they didn't even mention it. They just automatically assumed that once Alaric became human, that was it. There's no way to get Elena's memories back after that. But it still frustrates me. The only way that she got her memories back was because she took the cure. So, there's that. So now, on to predictions. Now here is the official synopsis for episode 622, titled, I'm Thinking of You All the While. And it goes, in the aftermath of Alaric and Joe's powerful nuptials, things take a dramatic turn when an uninvited guest shows up, leaving Elena in terrible jeopardy. Despite Matt's advice to leave town to protect herself, a defiant Bonnie takes matters into her own hands after finding herself on the receiving end of a twisted plan. As Stefan and Caroline reach an emotional crossroad in their relationship, a reunion with Liv leaves Tyler faced with a decision that could change his life forever. Meanwhile, Lily's reckless actions cause Stefan to realize the lengths to which his mother will go to reunite with her quote-unquote family. Finally, after a devastating chain of events, Damon is forced to make the most difficult decision of his life. Enzo is also set to appear. So it looks like things don't look good in Mystic Falls, to say the least. With Nina Dobrev and Michael Trevino leaving the show, Elena and Tyler are either going to be killed or they are going to leave town and not look back. Guy's definitely going to be an issue after his return in 621. But I just saw the latest promo for the finale, and it looks like Elena is in a coma and everyone is going into her mind to say their goodbyes. Kind of like what Caroline did with her mother before she died, or what Damon did to Rose before she died. And I just can't handle this. I definitely need some Kleenex when this episode airs. Even if I've had all season to prepare for Nina's departure, this episode will ruin me. And I got the impression that Damon took the cure because he mentioned spending the next 60 years without Elena, and he doesn't know how he could do it. If Damon were to take the cure, which I hope he doesn't, I really, really hope he doesn't, then he better kill Kai to avenge Elena before he takes the cure. I can't talk about this anymore, so I'll end it there. Thank you guys for listening. I hope you guys tune in for my finale video next week. Don't forget to leave any comments below you may have in regards to the Vampire Diaries, whether it's about your thoughts, your theories, what do you think about certain character arcs, or what do you think of certain story arcs. I'd love to hear it all. Don't forget to like this, subscribe to my channel, and share this with your VD Vampire Diary friends. Till next time. Bye, guys.